Hi, this is Wishop, and this is your card reading for the Aries new moon of April 15th, going through to the Scorpio full moon at the end of the month on April 29th, near 9 p.m., I think. So if you want to know more about the energies of the new moon itself, look at my last video. I went and looked at it, and it turns out that it is kind of carrying through into some of the things I see in this one. So you can let me know if that's been the case for you. What I'm seeing astrologically, my personal big takeaway is that something could come forward that will be a surprise. It'll be a revelation. It could be a confession. Even though Mercury is coming out of retrograde on April 15th, there is still, it's still retracing its steps over the part that it covered when it went backwards. So that's called being in its shadow. So it'll be in its shadow until early May. So that means you can still have these blast from the past effects going on. So Mercury in Aries, the house of self, and we've got the new moon in Aries, the house of self. So we're dealing with your self-concept, but the sun is heading into Taurus, which is the house of your stuff, your possessions, your job, things you've earned yourself, and your sense of personal security. So what I think is happening, because Neptune's in the mix here, and anyway, what I think is happening is that there could be a real blast from the past, something you discover or something that comes to you. You're not going to have to dig for it. Even if you discover it yourself, you're going to just find it by happenstance. You're not expecting it. You may not be looking for it, and it may come to you from a person, from an object, whatever it is. This information will change the way you see an event in your past and will change your sense of self-esteem about it, your sense of value. So I came up with a few examples just to kind of illustrate it. For example, let's say you wanted to go to college and your parents sort of indicated, yeah, you're not really college material. And you went ahead, maybe you went anyway, maybe you've done well in your career. And so you've overcome that initial no, but it stuck with you. Anyway, maybe you're cleaning out your parents' house. This would be a typical sort of Mercury retrograde way for this to happen. And you find a letter or evidence, something like that, that shows that your parents did believe in you. They knew you were smart. They told you you weren't college material because they were worried about the money, or they were worried about you moving away or something. But you're now in this really strong position that you can take this revelation and you can take the juice out of it. And it heals some long-standing wound to your self-esteem. So let me give you another example. You started dating somebody, but they made it clear they were on the rebound and that you couldn't maybe expect too much from them. So you've gone on maybe to have a really good, authentic, intimate relationship, but you've always had that little bit of a sore spot left over by the fact that you feel like a consolation prize, like you weren't their first choice. And then somehow, kind of out of the blue, during this period, you can find out they actually did have a crush on you, or they were aware of you and interested in you. They just made a big deal about being on the rebound to protect themselves. And you go, oh, see, I knew it. There's a feeling here that whatever you're going to find out is going to increase your swagger. You know, you're strong enough now that you've overcome some things. You're secure enough in yourself that when you find this information, your overwhelming reaction is not going to be bitterness, like, oh, you lied to me, you stink, how could you tell me that? Your overwhelming reaction is going to be of pride in yourself, of feeling good about yourself, like, I knew it. And so I think that is kind of exciting, because the strength that you have now is strength that you've earned. And that is what is going to make this revelation feel so good. And it's going to be a little bit of a band-aid on a long-standing wound. It's something that you've already been dealing with or taken care of or moved past. But you're going to find out how good it feels to just have that little thing revised in your history. So let's go to the cards. I picked a Lenormand card for focus, as I like to do, and we got the Crossroads, which is the Queen of Diamonds, and that is actually my card for the Oracle, too, for Oracle readers or tarot readers, for divination, because you stand at the crossroads and you try to see into the future and figure out what these different paths might mean. So the crossroads, of course, indicates that we're facing choices. And I suppose if I tie it into what I was just talking about, you have a choice to spend your time feeling bitter about the thing that you misunderstood or that was misrepresented to you, or you have the choice to use it to feel good about yourself, to realize how you overcame that situation or adapted to it. Or maybe, it was something that was a bad break, but you've really made the most of it. And you're going to look back at it in a different way. So there's a choice there, but there's also a choice, I think, in taking this new confident sense of self and moving forward. So let's look at the cards and see what we get. I'm going to do it this week from left to right because I sort of want to tell it like a story. So instead of doing the central card at the center, we're going to start left to right and be like, once upon a time, Two of Swords. So here are, maybe I'll get this nice and close. You see, here are Hansel and Gretel, and they have tucked the witch into the oven. So this is the Two of Swords. You can see they're hand in hand. They are in on this together. And because we tend to be happy about the hungry witch being in the oven instead of eating the children, there's a sense here with the Two of Swords. It's a little different than it is in a lot of other decks, because here we're sort of in a conspiracy. There's a meeting of the minds, if you will, in this Two of Swords. We're coming together on something. So instead of one person having two swords, which of course could tie into this idea of one person facing a choice, two different directions, this can also mean there's a meeting of two minds. We're coming together on a solution that we can both agree with. So there is a little bit of that idea of, making a truce, making a negotiation, coming to an agreement. So I feel like that there's sort of, with the idea here, there may be a notion of making a compromise. And certainly with what I'm seeing in the astrology, there is a sense that when you get this revelation, whatever it is going to change a bit the way you think about the people in your past, or possibly the organizations that you were part of. This could have to do with the job. Let's say you got the job, but you didn't know that somebody had interceded on your behalf, or you didn't know that you got a lucky break. And now you're going to find out about that, and it's going to change the way you see your own performance, but it should be in a good way. You find out somebody was saying great things about you, and that helped you get the job, and you didn't know they'd put in a good word for you. And, that kind of thing. So anyway, here, I feel like with this card, we have a meeting of the minds where we are coming to an agreement with somebody. We are, in geomancy, conjunctio is the roads coming together. And it's seen as a card of union, not of decision. So you could see this in two ways, apply it however it makes sense for you. It could be a card of making a decision, but it could also be a card of coming into union with someone else and getting together on something that you were sort of going your separate ways, but now you're in it together. Okay. And then, oh, look at this. Okay, so we have 9 of rods. So let me turn this right side up so you can see it. Okay, so this is Little Boy Blue. because this is the Whimsical Tarot, so it's full of fairy tales. So this is Little Boy Blue, and he's asleep on the haystack with his horn. He's not blowing anything. So it's funny, you think of the Nine of Wands, and we can talk about, oh, persistence and fighting through your troubles. But in this one, the Nine of Rods, he's asleep. And so the Nine of Rods in this case, in reverse, is saying, don't sleep on this. There is a little bit of a wake-up call. If you can come to an agreement, or if you can come to a decision, it'll be a good time to take action on it. And of course, given an Aries new moon, which is, planting the seeds for the year ahead, it's a great time to take action on it. And where we think of the Nine of Rods or the Nine of Wands as being a card where you're completing something and you're like finishing, like think of it finishing building a boundary, finishing building a fence. Right now, the Nine of Rods in reverse is saying, don't put up artificial boundaries, maybe between yourself and someone else. What you want to do is allow things into your experience, allow new things, be exploratory, allow yourself to join with new people in new ways, to visit new places, and this in the reverse, I think, is saying, feel free to take action and to be open-ended about it, not to be defensive, not to be resistant, but to be willing to work with other people, even in, an unconventional way, we could say, or in a way that you never conceived before. It might have been unimaginable before to do what you're doing now, but you have figured things out. And you're going to be using that sense of personal security to move forward into these uncharted lands. That sense of, I know who I am, I know what I have earned, I know what I can do. That sense of self-worth is really going to help you move forward, I think, and be able to make good agreements and good negotiations. So let's go into this one. Okay. So here is the Knight of Swords in reverse. So in the upright, this is Brother Fox. And you can see he's got this bucket of tar because he's getting ready to make the tar baby, which is a lure. The fox here is the trickster, and the tar baby lures victims in. So right now, the Knight of Swords is plotting and making a plan and drawing up the plan for the tar baby. So in reverse, one thing you can say about it is, well, don't get tricked by whatever this new person is that you're with. But really, Hansel and Gretel are brother and sister. They are, they're in it together. So I think the Knight of Swords in reverse in this case, combined with the Nine of Rods, is another emphasis not to be defensive, not to fear the worst, not to think that everybody's out to get you, not to look for scheming and deception everywhere. It doesn't mean not to be alert, but it means that this Aries new moon, the adventure, let the adventure draw you. Don't let a lot of suspicion and defensiveness and fear that you may not get everything right the first time. Don't let that get in your way. If you can find an ally, or if you can come to a decision about your path, move forward with the sense of value and worth in yourself that you have, because you are very deserving. You are very deserving of the things that you want to experience and enjoy. So I hope you enjoy the reading. Please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for your likes and for everybody who has subscribed. I will put the shadow cards in the description box, as I usually do, the cards on the bottom of the deck that sometimes tell us a little more about the underlying imagery or underlying energy. So anyway, until the next time, thanks so much, and rock on with your bad selves.